Nigeria partners Brazil on manufacturing medical commodities.
And federal government sets 16 years as minimum age requirement for admission into Nigeria's tertiary institutions.
First Lady Oluremi Tinubu charts path for Nigeria's women and youth global at Global First Partners Academy in New York.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall examine Cassava driving Nigeria's economy, and much later, we will be discussing energy policy and governance.
President Tinubu's vision for national food sufficiency identifies cassava, which for long symbolized food security for the vulnerable. However, it can also signify national prosperity, a new driven approach.
Absolutely, Demola, and it's high time indeed, I should say. Government agenda for this sector is hinged on leveraging the crop as capital for re-engineering our economy. Of course, also strengthening rural livelihoods and ensuring, most importantly, national food and energy security.
Indeed, Claire, this administration is moving from subsidy programs to investment-led solutions, thereby prioritizing private capital, research and coordinated action across government, academia and development partners to drive mechanization, agro-processing, quality inputs and full commercialization of cassava.
Absolutely. And of course, we all know, I mean, we don't have to be told that cassava holds the power to, transforming the agricultural sector and also to galvanize industrial growth, create jobs and boost foreign earnings.
And in addition, cassava is at the forefront of social economic transformation and repositioning as a strategic raw material by empowering smallholder farmers.
Not just smallholder farmers, the private sector also, and our teeming youth population. These are, motivated by, this administration to advance Nigeria's global leadership using cassava production and, of course, to utilize it in order to transfer cassava from being a stable or, food crop to a cash crop and, of course, as a cornerstone of Nigeria's industrial economy.
Yes, Claire, the president is facilitating cassava production to ensure the crop becomes a key driver of industrial development and import substitution. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. I am Ademola Adeoye.
It's good that this government is doing that because a few years ago, concerns were raised about the neglect of cassava, as a major driver of our economy. So it's really good that this government is doing so, and I'm glad because, cassava now. It has the value chain in cassava is so enormous, and there are so many things that can be done using cassava. All right, so let me join my colleague Demola to welcome you to the program. Of course, it's Wednesday's edition, midweek edition, and we thank you for joining us on the program. We're live on the network service of the NTA, Africa's largest network service that you can't beat. Anyway, we'll be joining Comfort Amodo in a short while for the news. Don't forget to join us, of course, later as Chooks the Boy comes in to review the newspapers. For now, Comfort, do you have comforting news for us this morning? I know there's something comforting that you got yesterday, but don't reveal it. Just give us the news highlights.
Lots of comforting news, of course, and I also love the conversation for Good Morning Nigeria today because there are lots of value chain when it comes to cassava.
We know you business desk. All right then.
Nigeria and Brazil have formalized a new partnership aimed at strengthening healthcare collaboration with long-term focus on local manufacturing of pharmaceutical, vaccines and other medical commodities. The Nigerian Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pati, and his Brazilian counterpart, Alexandra Padilla, signed a memorandum of understanding, structured a mechanism for the partnership on the sidelines of the 2025 BRICS Summit of Heads of State and Government in Rio de Janeiro. Professor Ali Pati explained that a partnership which has been in process between private partners from the two countries for some time got got a huge handshake with Brazil, now showing more seriousness to Nigeria as a result of the respect President Bola Tinubu's administration has been able to earn from the Brazilian government.
Commodities like vaccines, which Brazil is able to produce and has been producing for decades, that are safe, that are efficacious, that are well regulated.
Getting around the challenges that face vulnerable segments of Nigerians places a lot of demand on scarce resources, but adopting innovative solutions through strategic learning makes the journey faster and much easier. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu says this at the opening session of Global First Partners Academy in New York, expressing her readiness to learn and build more capacity for the demand of her office.
The challenge there is always financial. In a country like that, how do you now come up? But you know, whatever it is, it has its blessing, especially when people trust you and see the work you do.
The federal government has set 16 years as the minimum age requirement for admission into tertiary institutions in Nigeria. Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, made this known at the 2025 policy meeting on admissions organized by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, in Abuja.
Institution, along with its head, that admits a candidate below the approved minimum age of 16 without meeting the stipulated nationwide conditions and criteria shall face appropriate sanctions.
Meanwhile, Senate has passed for second reading a bill that seeks to strengthen Nigeria's digital policy architecture. The proposed legislation, sponsored by Senator Salisu Afolabi, provides exhaustive legal framework for artificial intelligence and digital transactions.
What this bill essentially seeks to do is to give legal teeth and framework for the modus operandi of artificial intelligence as well as operation of the digital economy.
The bills refer to the Committee on ICT and Cybersecurity to report back within 4 weeks.
The National Assembly leadership is asking Nigerians to take advantage of the ongoing constitution review process to entrench inclusive governance through amendments that will guarantee special seats for women and persons with disability in Parliament. This was the thrust at the second annual Open Week of Parliament hosted by the House of Representatives.
Under the draft amendment, 10% of seats in both the Senate and the House of Representatives will be set aside for women, apportioned by state to ensure regional balance.
So you are changing Nigeria. You are repositioning Nigeria. You are making it possible for good governance to come, irrespective of who occupies the villa.
Those are the news highlight. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Ademola and Claire after these messages.
Have you heard the news? The federal government of Nigeria, through its direct benefit transfer program, has started the disbursement of 75,000 naira per household in 3 installments of 25,000, 25,000, 25,000 naira. Each recipient must have a validated national identification number, NIN, to receive the payment on behalf of their household members. To benefit, your household must be in the National Social Register of Poor and Vulnerable Households in Nigeria. The The federal government's direct benefit transfer program is helping to reduce the effect of suffering while promoting financial and economic inclusion for the poor and vulnerable population in Nigeria.
Afam Bogenika, Ebim Nagaradimawa Village, Abuja, Nazo Afeba. So Esom Nandi register na NSR government register with my NIN. So government will use them ATM card. Njiwe worth 25,000 naira 3 times. And ega haya mketa barumuru na them. Eji megoro makamihe. Jikweru mehendozo. Thank you.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, in collaboration with the National Social Investment Programs Agency, National Social Safety Net's Coordinating Office, and the National Cash Transfer Office.
The National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, under the patronage of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, in collaboration with the Office of the National Security Advisor, ONSA, and Q&A Dubai invites stakeholders, innovators, government agencies, and the public to the inaugural National Cybersecurity Conference NCSE 2025 with the theme Securing Nigeria's Digital Future, Innovation, Collaboration, and Resilience. The conference will gather top decision makers, cybersecurity experts, and industry titans as they converge to fortify our digital frontier. Together, they will write the next chapter of Nigeria's digital defense strategy. The conference will feature keynotes by global cybersecurity experts, technical workshops and exhibition, hackathon, capture the flag challenge, cross-sectoral networking opportunities, and National Cybersecurity Awards and dinner. Date 9th to 10th July 2025. Venue Abuja Continental Hotel, FCT Abuja. Time 9 a.m. prompt. Announcer Mrs. Hadiza Umar, F, NIPR, Director Corporate Communications and Media Relations Department, NITDA.
A new edition of TV Guide is out, featuring an impeccable personality with purposeful leadership.
Abba Abubakar Aliu, MD, CEO of Rural Electrification Agency, takes us through the gamut of activities and mandates of Rural Electrification Agency, as well as its achievements and dreams.
I really want to see that I leave a lasting legacy that can be spoken of in a very long period of time.
Welcome to a world of fun and excitement as we also present an assemblage of professionals in the media space. Some compelling NTA programs, current trends in the fashion world, ICT, sports, entertainment, and lots more.
Meet Professor Charles Anosike, the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, as he shares his vision in repositioning NIMET as a key player in Nigeria's climate strategy.
Get a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
The Nigeria Coat of Arms is the official seal that represents the authority of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, hung on the wall behind the seat of the principal officer of the government, supported by the portrait of the serving President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It has 7 features. The black shield stands for Good Earth of Nigeria. The silver wavy band stands for the confluence of rivers Niger and Benue. The 2 white horses stands for dignity. The yellow flora is a common wildflower throughout Nigeria. The red eagle stands for strength. The wreath is in our national colors of green, white, green. The motto, unity and faith, peace and progress, is written on a beautiful yellow ribbon, and it's a maxim for all Nigerians. Be a real Nigerian.
At NTA Television College Jos, you will dive into exhilarating hands that will fuel your passion in education and propel your career to new heights. We don't just teach, we craft the next generation of media leaders. Explore our diverse offering, understanding the personnel matters and issues in the public service, basic development communication, financial reporting under IPSAS, and interpretation of public sector accounting standard IPSAS, audit, internal check and control management, video camera maintenance, new technologies, optics, fiber, IP technologies, automation, storage management, and wireless technology. Challenges and opportunities in the secretarial profession in the digital age. Digital marketing, basic drama, online reporting, understanding the provisions of the revised public service, audio engineering operations and maintenance, camera operations, and intermediate drama. Mark your calendar. The second quarter of 2025 is your launch pad. This is your moment to seize the future. Announcer Management.
The Nigerian national flag represents our country's history. culture, and identity. It was designed in 1959. The colors are Emerald Green 2.0, which represents agriculture, and Immaculate White represents unity and peace. Know how to handle our flag. Illuminate the environment or don't fly the flag overnight. Do not fly a dirty or tattered flag. Take such flag to the nearest National Orientation Agency office for proper disposal and replacement. The national flag can only be flown at half-mast on the directive of the federal government. The national flag must be flown at the same or higher height when displayed alongside other flags. Don't burn or allow the national flag to fall on the ground. Do not print, decorate, modify, or insert the coat of arms on the flag. Our national heroes are not buried with the flag. They are honored by presenting it to their next of kin during interment. Respect our national flag. Be a real Nigerian.
This message was brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Up next is Newspaper Review.
All right, let's introduce Chooks the Bouncing Boys here in the studio. I added another one today.
Yeah. Whether you add from here to Jericho. The important thing is that I want my mom to watch TV when these things happen. She will agree that her son is doing well in Abuja by his grace. Demo, how are you?
Good. All right,
good morning.
Good to see you.
Claire, thank you for the introduction.
Yes, okay.
I feel good.
Yes, let's quickly take a look at the papers. I'll begin with the leadership. And the leadership, the leadership has quite a number of stories, but the lead story is on the Kano Emirate tussle. My supporters acted in self-defense. That's according to the Emir of Bayero. But it comes with two riders. Confirms loyalists evicted from palace. Victims seek FG's intervention. Police arrest 4 over attack on Emir Sanusi's palace. The picture story, of course, that we see on the front page there, we'll find Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, and other national security advisor and others there, of course, at the inauguration of the Defense Joint Doctrine Warfare Center, and that happened in Abuja yesterday. ASUP kick as JAM, VC's fixed varsity cutoff mark at 150. FG pegs varsity admission age at 16. And let me quickly again go a little below the leadership newspaper. And Dangote refinery to end crude importation by year end. This according to this report. Cuts petrol price to 820 naira per litre. Again, cuts petrol price to 820 naira per litre. This will interest a lot of people. The other stories here, let me just stop here so Demola can take other stories.
All right, I have the Business NG newspaper here. Just above the nameplate, it says, court to rule July 17 on Yahya Bello's medical travel bid. Details of that story can be found on page 2. Governor Alia launches quick response squad to fight insecurity in Benue. Details of that story also can be found on page 13. And just below the nameplate, we have the BRICS Trump's 10% tariff. Trade spots $3.7 billion. Investors exit from Nigeria. And then we have Labour Party to expel Obi over coalition ties. Cement prices soar to 53% despite federal government promises. Stakeholders cry out. There were federal government's new admission rules, 150 cutoff, 16 years minimum. NCC slams 10 million license fee on bulk messaging. Details, all the stories can be found on the Business NG. And now to Punch newspaper. The Punch says just above that nameplate, Natasha postpones Senate return as National Assembly awaits apology. Details on page 10. Presidency blast Obi as Ohaneze demands Kanu's release. Details of that story also can be found on page 18. 2025 admission, JAM sets 150 benchmark bars under 16. Details of that story can be found on page 12. U.S. courts Nigeria's visa validity to 3 months. Those who want to travel to the U.S.
Nigerian non-immigrants. This paper says Nigerian non-immigrants.
Okay, this one says U.S. courts Nigerians visa validity to 3 months. Yeah. So we have 2027 presidency. Mark cautions Atiku Obi as federal government slams coalition chiefs. Presidency, Mark clash over Tinubu's reform. APC, PDP chieftains join ADC in Borno, Gombe, Ondo, and Jigawa. The Nigeria BRICS trade suggests to 5.4 trillion naira amid Trump's fresh tariff threat. The story can be found on page 33. Customs, EFCC step up airport surveillance against money laundering. Details on page 34. Earlier autumn clash over 3 billion security votes.
Demola, I thought you're not going to stop. Are you going to read everything?
Demola,
yes. Okay.
Let's quickly be brief about be brisk and brief.
Brisk and brief.
Yes.
I will start with an embarrassment. Have you built a house? Cement prices.
You don't expect him to respond.
It's not everything you say in public. It's not everything you answer.
So please.
But I wanted to go in that way because the way we are going, some people, I'm not going to say some of us, you don't confess everything in public. Some people are going to die in tenancy. Where the prices of cement are going, only God knows. It's all right.
Is it on the front page?
Yeah, Demola read it there.
Okay,
that's why I actually took it to him.
That's a no-go area, honestly, because the rate at which,
yes,
like you said, it's quite alarming.
I don't know what to think about it.
That's why government needs to intervene when it comes to housing, provision of housing.
But can you also blame them? Because you have market forces also driving the costs of production and imports of materials and infrastructure.
Claire, you want us to be brisk. What I ask is, what is sourced locally? The limestone, is it coming from Russia? Is it coming from... Look, Claire, certain things are not just it. Let me go to the emirs, the seeming, okay?
I thought you wouldn't go there.
Okay, well, tell me, you have to lead it.
Yes, I thought you wouldn't go there. I thought we should look at...
Okay, fine.
I thought we should look at 90% of bandits quickly terrorizing Katsina, living among us.
That's the governor talking.
Yes, that's a governor talking, living amongst them. I mean, we all know this.
If rat, when they call your kitchen, they come from outside, you can easily lay a trap for it. But if it's in your cupboard, you are in real trouble. You see, this banditry thing, the insurgency thing, when I hear analysis on Nigerian television from many people, sometimes I say, could they really mean this? Claire, the insincerity in this country has become noxious. It is something that we should be ashamed of. How can you be consuming your own? And who says that we don't know these people who are doing this? What was that promo we usually talked about? I'm a robber, not be spirit. That person like you and me. You know where they are. Why do they thrive when we know who they are?
We know that, I mean, he's not saying a new thing.
Yes.
But the percentage that he has...
90%.
Precisely.
It has become a criminal community. It's a shame. A very big one.
Well.
And do we have time for more?
We can talk about that Dangote fuel.
Okay.
I mean, the price. You mentioned it.
Yes, I mean, cut petrol price to 820 naira per liter, and it's been steady.
You know, Claire, I hate cynicism perpetual cynicism. We are to report based on factuality, fairness, accuracy, objectivity, and balance. When the dog bites the man, we should say that the dog has bitten a man, not only when a man bites a dog. Some of us feel that things that go up in this country never come down. They have been proved wrong in the past 4 months. And that note of positivity should accompany some of the things we say. It is not just that. By the end of the year, they are saying that Dangote will be sourcing his crude supplies strictly from within. Is it that it's a salute to increased production of crude, or government is giving him a concession to make sure that the energy policy stays on solid ground?
All right. Thank you very much, Chooks. We have to draw the curtain here. Yeah. Thank you for your contribution today.
Yeah, I'm happy to go.
All right. So we'll see you tomorrow.
Like will come in.
Please, can you bounce out? Bounce out, Chukwudi. All right.
So we'll take a break now. Yes. After the break, the conversation will kickstart. Stay with us.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we swear in colors, with undying demand. We make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Ethnicity is unique, we are more than just
we are Nigeria, strength and unity, we know they carry love. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Hey Nigeria, ready to breathe cleaner air and save money? Let's talk about gas. Drive with CNG, the smart, cost-effective choice. Fill up for less and travel further. Save money, save the planet. Switch to LPG for cooking. It's cleaner, healthier, and better for environment. Say goodbye to smoke and eye problems. Do you know Nigeria is a gas nation ranked 9th globally with over 209 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve? Gas isn't just for cooking and driving. It powers industries too. Cleaner, cheaper, and more efficient. And the best part, conversion centers are popping up everywhere. It's never been easier to switch to gas. Join the cleaner energy revolution. Choose LPG for cooking and CNG for your vehicles. Clean energy for brighter future. This message is brought to you by the Office of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, supported by the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA.
Mention a popular Nigerian childhood game of the 80s and 90s.
Police and thief. Playing rubber.
No be arm rubber.
Mommy and daddy.
Mommy and daddy. Survey says. Hey.
She loves to cook and I like to eat.
That's my boy.
I like to go out, but sometimes my pocket just tells me,
bruh,
go inside.
Don't be only you. Mention something you would do if you meet with a lion. Call for help. Help me. The lion, they carry me, go here.
I like to watch football with him.
Nice.
Not Arsenal. They know they carry league.
Drop some bars.
All right. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
You did not even rap.
If you're happy and you know it, let me see your 32. Smile for me, baby. You know they give me attitude.
Felicity, they're here.
Pleased to announce encouraging news from the National Bureau of Statistics, which released the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, for April 2025 only yesterday. According to the report, the headline inflation rate for April stood at 23.71%, This represents a decrease of 0.52% from the 24.23% recorded in March 2025. Similarly, month-on-month inflation dropped by a notable 2.04% from 3.90% in March to 1.86% in April. This, of course, did not just happen by chance. The President is focused and is determined, and his determination and his interventions are clearly paying off. The benefits of reform, though gradual, are real and measurable.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Just before we bring in our guest for our conversation on cassava driving Nigeria's economy, let's take this background report by Ibrahim Belogunda.
The federal government is repositioning cassava production to serve as a key driver of industrial development and import substitution in Nigeria, with a strategic plan to leverage the crop for economic transformation, stronger rural livelihood, and enhanced national food and energy security. The present administration is prioritizing private capital, research, and coordinated action among government, academia, and development partners to drive mechanization, agro-processing, quality inputs, and the full commercialization of cassava. Cassava is one of Nigeria's most strategic agricultural assets, with diverse application across food, feed, fuel, pharmaceuticals, textiles, and construction. The federal government's cassava bioethanol project is a major breakthrough expected to save over 3 trillion naira annually by reducing dependence on imported fuel additives. How receptive are Nigerian farmers to the federal government cassava initiative? How can more Nigerians key into the cassava initiative? And what is the prospect of cassava as a key driver of industrial development and import substitution in Nigeria? These and more are some of the questions guests on Good Morning Nigeria will find answers to on the program.
All right, thank you very much for that backgrounder, Ibrahim Belogunda. And of course, I mean, this is a conversation that I personally would pay, very careful attention to, because cassava is everything that we all know. And to, get it to drive our economy should be of interest to everyone who eats anything, cassava. So let's get started with our conversation, with our introductions. And we have seated in the studio with us someone I describe as the minister with a charming mien and welcoming smile always. He's the Honorable Minister of State Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi. We thank you very much for joining us again.
Thank you very much for having me, and good morning, Nigerians.
Yes, and also here is a man who talks faster than he looks. It's Dr. Kingsley Uzoma, Senior Special Assistant, SSA to the President on Agribusiness, and he's passionate about agribusiness. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
We're happy to be on this
panel. Thank you for having me, and good morning,
so
Nigerians.
How would you describe Dr. Emeka?
No, it's for you to introduce.
No. Because how would you describe him now?
Okay, my brother, who has left me in the diaspora, and but it's a farmer. Yes.
All right, Dr. Emeka Okengo, Managing Partner Operations of Buy Sources Technologies Limited. You're welcome to the conversation.
Pleasure to be here.
Okay, Claire, you can shoot your shot.
Okay, I should start, and I'm going to start with the Honorable Minister, because cassava, there's a Zoom guest.
Yes, there's a Zoom guest.
Oh my goodness.
All right, so joining us via Zoom from Ekiti is Oscar Sheyi Ayelesho. Oscar Sheyi Ayelesho. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for bringing me to this studio, and good morning, Nigerians.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Oscar, we do. Are you a farmer? Let me start with you. Are you a farmer?
In fact, I'm proud to be the #1 cassava farmer in Nigeria.
So let me take permission from the Honorable Minister. I was going to start the conversation with him, but now that you are the #1 cassava farmer, let me ask you, how is market?
Yeah, the cassava market is good, very profitable, and the production is also at a very high scale, especially for us in the Agbayawa farms. Even though the market price has been fluctuating, market price been fluctuating. At the beginning of this year, we started the market with about 120,000 naira per ton of cassava. Today, it has nosedived to about 75,000 naira per ton. But these are a lot period, but it will soon pick up. But production is at high level because this is the harvesting time. I mean, this is the planting time. We are planting very heavily in Agbewa farm.
And now that the federal government is putting special focus on cassava production as a driver for the economy, how will you describe this development?
Yeah, it's a welcome development. At least with the Renew Hope agenda of President Tinubu. It's a very welcome development. It's also tied with our mission and vision in Agbewa farms. Our mission our vision is to be the most successful agricultural company in Nigeria, while our vision is to be the healthy and thriving communities through sustainable allied investment. So with the federal government renewal on agriculture, it helps us in a very great deal, and we are positioning cassava as the second oil commodity in Nigeria, which is a very good one. And we have also started it by actually anchoring our operation, because we must produce before we start marketing and exporting. So we build our operation on four pillars, which has been helping us and helping the federal government on the production aspect of it. We are cultivating now. And of course, it will interest you to know that as of last year, when we became the #1 cassava farm in Nigeria, we have cultivated over 1,700 hectares. And this year, we have started cultivating about 5,000 hectares. And by the end of this year, I'm sure Agbewa farm will be the best, will be #1 cassava farm in the whole of Africa, just to actually align with the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President on making a cassava the second non-oil commodity, and of course, that will help enhance the GDP of Nigeria. Our focus is based on, production, processing, and also export. But we'll both begin with production first, and that's what we are doing presently in Agbewa farm. That is helping us very, very seriously. We will begin to help the government to actually retain and achieve self-sufficiency and eradicate food insecurity in Nigeria.
Mr. Ayelesho, I know you want to sell, your farm, but I mean, you've got right, since we're talking about cassava. But previous governments have always, we talked about rice. We saw the efforts and the policies, that were initiated to boost rice, and then we had maize, and then we had wheat and all that. Can you talk to us or give us an insight into previous government policies and how that impacted or affected your cassava production? Cassava is not just a cash crop. It's not just a staple or food crop. It's supposed to be a revenue earner. So how would you say evaluate previous government policies in this area?
Yeah, yes, rightly said that the rice, maize, and other products, millets are being the stable products on Nigerian table in the economy. But cassava is just coming because cassava, we want to place it and position it as one of those products, cash crops that will be on the to rejuvenate and also to enhance Nigeria economy. Because cassava, as it is today, cassava is a very rugged product that can stand the test of time anywhere in terms of production. Two, cassava has a lot of varieties of processed products that can be taken from cassava, and that can position it as one of those products, especially if not one of the best products that can enhance the GDP of Nigeria. In terms of cassava can be used for ethanol, it can be used for flour, can be used for starch, and starch content are being most of the major items of export. One of the major items of some of the FMCG companies in Nigeria that they use for their products, especially flour mills use it for their products to produce all of their food, processed food. Nestle use it, Capri use it, and this has helped a lot of FMCG goods, even in the pharmaceuticals. So, but the recognition that this present government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is giving to Cassava under the leadership of the Minister of Agriculture and also the Minister of State for Agriculture is a welcome development that will help us actually place Cassava, replace and reposition Cassava very well as one of those products that will help enhance the economy of Nigeria. The past policies have been towards the rice, maize, and millet, which is a very good one too. But I'm sure that the varieties of processed products that we get from cassava cannot be gotten from any of these products. And I'm sure the policy statement is very clear now that cassava can, a variety of processed products can be used to enhance the GDP of Nigeria. The other product that also there's available in Mauritius is sugarcane, who has also a lot of varieties from processed products. But cassava is the only product that has a lot of varieties in terms of processed products that can help enhance GDP and also create job for the teeming youth and the women in Nigeria.
Mr. Ayele Shaw, for your opening remarks there. We'll get back to you in the course of this conversation. So let's come back to the studio now. Honorable Minister of State, you've heard him, and I know that many farmers are so elated, especially the cassava farmers like Dr. Okengu here and others. That government is at least focusing more on farm production now to ensure that no Nigeria, goes to bed hungry. That is the mantra of the president himself. So let's look at the theme of this year's World Cassava Day. It's a farm to global market, driving industrialization, food security and exports, which aligns with President Tinubu's vision of a call to action on cassava mechanization. Why is the federal government focusing now on cassava production?
Thank you very much for this very beautiful question, and I think the farmer has given you a practical insight. I think we need to first ask what is the fundamentals. For President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he believes we should now do what we call food sovereignty, which means Nigeria should be able to produce what it consumes and consumes what it produces. So Nigeria first. And if you say so, then you realize that you need to look inward and ask yourself the fundamental questions. So for us in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, when we looked at the fact that by the time the president came into power, there were a lot of challenges with respect to food security, with all manners of numbers being bandied about food insecurity statistics. So the president declared a state of emergency in 2023. Now, when we came on board, what we realized is that if you are talking about food security, you are talking about 3 or 4 component issues. Food has to be available, it has to be accessible, and it has to be affordable. But overall also, it should be in the right nutritional quantity, and it should be on a daily basis. Which means, as a country, for you to have food sovereignty, you must be in total control of the sources of production, processing, and even marketing and consumption of your food items. So in the ministry, what we did was to first look at the various food staples. And I think we have now created 3 or 4 layers. The ones that are consumed from Lagos to Kano to Maiduguri across the entire country, that is our food staple. And in this, cassava falls into that. The others being wheat, rice, and some other vegetables or the like. Now, what we realize is that if you look at cassava, you can call cassava a wonder crop because it has so many advantages. You can plant it on marginal soil. It can do very well in areas which is not necessarily too, fertile. And so we realize also that the journey of cassava in Nigeria has gone very far. If you remember those days, in the 70s, 80s, not everybody takes Gari. But because of students going to federal government colleges, different people working in different places, and Gari is now consumed across everywhere.
And packaged.
So, and you realize that,
Packaged and
you know,
exported.
like somebody said, that is a bachelor's food, you know. Some people have even become so innovative. Nigerians are very creative.
Yes.
They will package it in a small container
With
a
granules,
granite attached to
with
it, with
sugar,
sugar
milk.
and then milk. And all of it is actually labeled. And then they now sealed it. So you just take one package, just cut, and then everything is in. And of
You
course,
also have the
so
cassava flakes.
yes. So I think what we realize is that for cassava, yes, Nigeria is the world #1 producer. We've grown from about 28 million metric tons to about 60 million metric tons or more now as it is. But then Nigeria also is the largest consumer of cassava products. The ones we produce, almost 90% of it is consumed domestically, leaving just the 10% for industrial application and some export. And I think if you look at the value of what we have exported as a nation, if you look at the export data, in fact, if you see the bar chart, you will only see a dot where Nigeria's name is placed. So what we've realized is that there is a lot cassava can do. And if you look at the 8-point agenda of Mr. President, he's talking about the economic growth, job creation, poverty eradication, food security, isn't it? All of this, cassava alone can actually tackle that. And even the aspect of insecurity as a result of lack of job and other things that happen, honestly, if the cassava subsector is looked at right now, especially with what we are planning to do, honestly, it can cover the space. And so it has the advantage of satisfying our food security need, which is the food sovereignty we're talking about, but it also has industrial application. And so within that context, there is quite a lot cassava can do because it's used in pharmaceutical industry. You can have high, quality cassava flour. You can have, derivatives like sorbitol, like ethanol, like, the farmer has said, and so many other things, even bioplastics. So there are quite a number of applications. Now, all of these are within the industrial space. Now, if you look at the global market, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, they are the ones carrying more than 80% of the market. And it is just producing pellets, specifically, of cassava that is being applied and used outside. So for us in country, we in the ministry, for example, you were asking about the past policy. There was a project that was implemented in the ministry called Root and Tuber Expansion Program, RTEP. RTEP was implemented for almost like 3 decades. And I think when we came on board now, we have asked the ministry staff, the department, to review what they've done in RTEP. And on the basis of it, we have now decided to bring on board, rather than RTEP, Root and Tuber Industry and Export Development Program, which aligns now to what you have said about this team, because you need to have the industrial application, just the same way you also want to have, and in the industrial application, it means you want to produce large volumes of products that are for both food security for consumption, but also for industrial application. But most importantly, to also tap the export market. And I think the current advantage Nigeria has, we have over 93 million hectares of land, only 34 million hectares as under cultivation, which means the room for expansion is quite massive. And so, but then for the private sector, you need to create that enabling environment. And I think that's why under the Cassava program, what we want to do is to bring in strategic partnership with the private sector, creating enabling environment, creating the ease with which the private sector will be able to operate. For example, if you take a look at the varieties of seed, our yield, even within the current production cycle, our yields, if they are doubled, we can actually double. It means we can go to 150 million metric tons Because right now it's 120, I mean it's 60. And what is the average? If you want to take average, the high average is about 11 tons per hectare. Meanwhile, we have varieties that can give you 40 tons per hectare.
Okay.
And so if we take even the ones that will give you 30 tons per hectare or even 25 tons per hectare, you can see the scale of production that you are going to increase, which means those who are going to go into industrial application will have enough cassava stem or roots to
Honorable
be able
Minister,
to
can I just pause you for a moment?
Yeah.
And then bring in, another farmer himself. Yes, before I get to the SSA to tell us, yes. I like Dr. Okengo. I mean, we've heard, the window of opportunities in cassava production, it's not just, wide, it's vast. In terms of meeting our domestic consumption, we're already doing that with the 60,000 metric, tons that we're producing. So we're already meeting that. I'm just wondering, now that the government, under President Bola Tinubu, implemented by the ministers, are now focusing, on cassava, what aspect, should focus be directed? And then how can, what can they do to enable the farmers also to be able to be in tandem with the objective?
Thank you very much, Claire. For a very long time, each time I come here, I say, just introduce me as a farmer. This is the first time you're probably introducing me as managing partner of Biosources and Technologies Limited. It's an SPV that has a FEC approval for the development of bioethanol cassava value chain. Okay? And it's important we get a little bit to the history. Cassava and bioethanol, like the Honorable Minister had mentioned, has a lot of synergy. But there's one missing link to cassava that people rarely discuss, and that is livestock management. If you recall, the first deal that Obasanjo signed with China as president was to supply China with $3 billion worth of cassava chips, if you recall. So if you see cattle rearers pulling up people's cassava farms, they are not pulling it up because it is grass. They are pulling it up because it is more medicinal than it is grass. Because each time they go through eating fresh grass and then they get what they call mouth and foot disease, Oga is a veterinary doctor and think that is his area. So that is a deliberate attempt. Now, when the minister mentioned that Nigeria produces 55 to 65 metric tons of cassava, there's also an add-on to it. There is about 45% of that that is produced as cassava peel. And if you compound those 45%, which gives you about 45 million metric tons of peel with soya beans, you will produce cattle that you will be needing cranes to lift. So the Biosources and Technologies program was as a result of the ERUGP labs. It became a national program and has been captured in the national budget since 2023 under what you call the National Poverty Reduction Strategy with growth. So it's an economy. And to that extent, what we have done at the level of Biosources and Technologies is to produce curriculum from primary school to master's degree. We have 60 universities in Nigeria that have signed up for the bioethanol cassava value chain program. The Enugu state government had donated 100,000 hectares of land, and 5,000 have been in full cultivation for the past 3 years. Okay, now where's the story? So I can be able to get to it quickly to give the presidency a chance to be able to talk.
Link.
What we have done is to disrupt what you call the cassava frontline states. I keep telling you, come to my center in Abuja, come to our center in Abuja. We have actually introduced the growing of cassava in crocus bags, and we're doing our third off-season cycle as we speak now. And the cassava we produced after 6 months is beating the ones that are done in the so-called rain-fed frontline states. Like the Honorable Minister said, if you're going to be producing using a product as some national development strategy, you're not going to be limiting to 20 states. So right now, 3 things we are doing. We're growing cassava in bags in some friend's house in Kano. We're growing some in some other parts of the country to be able to show that what you want is water, not rain, to be able to sustain cassava. But however, this program was placed under the Ministry of National Planning before it became National Economic Planning. And then the Ministry of Agriculture, we have also been invited to be part of developing what they call the accelerated cassava, gari production system. And on our own, account, we had gone around the RTEP centers and found out that, like the Honorable Minister said, they needed to now expand it because it was no longer, as vibrant as it used to be. Missing link for cassava. And this is where everybody can grow cassava. In fact, I have a staff of the ministry that came to the farm, and I gave him a bag. And he did something very surprising. He did a video after 6 months of taking that seedling from the farm, and then put it on the ministry, platform to say, I got this, from Dr. Kengu's resource center. This is my cassava growing in my house.
So, in essence, what is the nature
yes.
of I don't want to say support. What is the nature of intervention now? Because all the time we see subsidy, intervention in other crops. Now, what is the nature of the intervention the government should be bringing?
What the minister has said is what it is, accelerating the seedling component of it. That's one.
Okay.
Two, getting people to now know that you don't need to be a farmer to grow food. That's two. Three, being able to make certain that we now have these things, everybody's aggregated under one platform. Okay, I was privileged to visit the farm in Ekiti. Okay, they had taken us there, I saw it, and we shared our thoughts. But there's no common forum, so that there's no need, everybody can be able to get his own little. If we are doing 65,000 metric tons of cassava, there's no way we can be doing it under 3,000 or 4,000 hectares of land. Okay, but everybody should become that one partner in that land chain. The moment you tell me that you have a cassava farm, I tell you that you have not started. What we need to develop in Nigeria are cassava belts. Okay. And everybody who can be able to do it is here. The presidency is here. Okay, but let me say that I rest on this. I think the missing link was that there was a time you didn't now have the office of a vice president who was supposed to be in charge of coordinating all these agencies, that are supposed to be doing the cassava value chain thing. Now aggregating them under what we call technical agencies, operational agencies, research agencies. So what you now have, you have technical agencies running their cassava program, research agencies having their cassava program, operational agencies having their cassava program, farmers having their cassava program, and you're not able to get that whole. And let me tell you clearly, and it's important Nigerians know this, there is what they call organic ethanol. It is king. There's what they call citrum. It is emperor. These are things that come from cassava. And like I said to you, I have cattle in my farm, like what we are doing is that we are feeding our cattle. We are now actually intercropping cassava and soya beans in bags. Not in my village in Abuja. You can drive from here, you see it. And they are doing very well. 3 months, you harvest. And with the stems that we're producing now, it simply means that we're doing 3 cycles every year on cassava, both on ground and in bags.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Okengo, for that. Okay, maybe we bring in Dr. Uzoma now, the SSA to the president. You've listened to the other guest, and I know that you already have government's plan, to further improve the processing of cassava as a value addition to economic, benefits. So what are these plans? Let us know.
Okay. As you may recall, last year there was a program, a private sector-led program, but which was supported extensively by the vice president and the president in principle, the Nigerian Cassava Investment Accelerator, which is being spearheaded by the Boston Consulting Group, their Nigerian office, and the Lagos Business School, to tell you how extensive the vice president wants us to go. We have been moving through the traditional way, but he wants to extend it as a business, because we have done analysis of the market and the potentials therein. I will give you an instance. If we use the data of 2022 with importation, 2-point-something billion, there was a program on cassava bread. In fact, they set up a fund, Cassava Bread Development Fund, under the wheat levy fund, which prior to that time was taxed at wheat grain was 5%, but the wheat levy fund, which is supposed to fund the Cassava Bread Development Fund, is 20%. The extra 15% is to go to development of cassava bread. The wheat flour was 35%, now moved to 100%. That was during President Jonathan. The extra 65% was to go into that. But what have we done? Nothing until this administration came on board. So Vice President looked at it and said, what can we do? Before swearing in, Mr. President sent him on a mission study tour to Ethiopia to go and study the wheat revolution. We saw that in Ethiopia, they are still eating the bread made from teff, njaro. And now they are trying to pivot into extensive independence on wheat consumption and also export. But that has not made them to forget about njaro. Njaro is just like the flour from njaro is also something like high quality cassava flour, is gluten free.
Okay.
So that made him to say, what can we do to enhance the market ecosystem of cassava and also to uplift millions of Nigerians? I will give you an instance. Within the derivative belt of cassava, if we take that 2022 data, or if we use 2023 data, we are 2022 data $3 billion. 10% substitution is $300 million. But from that, it's possible to substitute up to 45%. But let's end it at 40%. 40% of $3 billion is $1.2 billion that would have been saved. And then you have another derivative. You have the ethanol. The ethanol consumption in Nigeria, $155 million. The installed capacity of the ethanol production plants in Nigeria is 514 million liters. Whereas that consumption is 504 million liters. That means you have 10 million liters excess capacity. And conversion of the ethanol plant to cassava basis, because it's all carbohydrate fermentation, you get ethanol. So it's just little retrofitting of the system. We can save that money comfortably. You talk about sugars. 844 billion was used on sugar importation. But I can tell you 70% of the sugar imported into this country are for industrial uses. That means we can actually do 50% substitution, and that gives you 422 billion, $422 million saving. You have sweeteners and syrups, $77 million. You have modified starch and adhesive, $75 million. You have food grade starch, $35 million. You have sorbitol, $101 million. So you have a saving of between 1.2 to $2 billion. And I also give you another instance. We now did a study analysis from 2010 to 2023. If we had just focused on wheat substitution of 40%, Nigeria would have had a savings of $8.4 billion savings. And we did a projection because wheat consumption grows at a 6% compounded annual growth rate. So in the next 10 years, that was last year, 2034, the wheat consumption in Nigeria will actually double. We would have also, if we start today to implement that, we will save additional $16.5 billion in efforts that import substitution. So when you put what we would have, if we had done this in from 2010, 8.4 plus 16.4, you are talking around $25 billion that would have remained in the coffers of the Nigerian CBN. And again, what are the problems limiting this? And that was what the president asked. The problem is the productivity of cassava in Nigeria is low. We're also talking about Thailand. In fact, he talked about 75 per ton. We did the analysis. If we can produce at a price competitive rate of $250 to $275 per ton, we can actually be price competitive with the Vietnamese, with the Taiwanese, with the Thailands and the Indonesians and the Chinese market, where we did our own mapping, just taking a little pie of percentage of the consumption. We can actually export $700 to $800 million worth of cassava. What of the bioplastic? The global bioplastic market is projected to be $385 billion. If we can, and it's growing, that by 2027, we'll actually, cassava, the bioplastic can actually take over more than half of that packaging. This thing. So if Nigeria can tap in to just 5 to 10% of that, we are looking at additional $1 to $3 billion in. So we looked at it and did that mapping that from now to the next 10 years, we can actually have, through import substitution and foreign exchange and through export, additional $5 billion savings into the FS coffers of this nation. And again, within the West African regional market, all these derivatives, the high quality cassava flour, the sugars, the ethanol, the sweeteners and syrups, modified starch and adhesive, food grade starch and sorbitol, bioplastics, if we just take only 5%, leveraging the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, only 5%, we have another $1 billion market opportunity for us. Nigeria is the best belt to grow cassava. And again, that is why if we had attended the World Cassava Day, the Vice President took his time to IITA, where they are developing highly sophisticated technologies to enhance productivity of cassava. Because we have seen, if the yield does not increase, like they're getting 30 to 40 tons in Aboiwa farm, even when the price crashes to 75,000 per ton, 30,000 tons is 2.something million. At production cost of around 1 million per hectare, they are getting profit of more than 1 million. So it is still a viable. When it was 150, they were making 4.something million per hectare. So what can we do to enhance that? Planting material. Yeah. That is why, let me go ahead. Let me just 1 minute to talk about the semi-autotrophic hydroponic greenhouse system for cassava stem multiplication. If you say you want to plant 100 hectares of cassava in Abuja, you not get the planting material. Before you transport them from Ibadan, from Abia, from Getia, half of them must have been spoiled. But if you can develop a system that does a rapid multiplication of the planting material within the place you want to plant, with soilless, with disease-free planting materials, I will give you an instance. In the field, one plant can only give you planting material for 10 planting materials per year. But this semi-autotrophic hydroponic system can give you between 10,000 to 20,000 planting materials per year. What it means is that on the lower range of it, using the traditional stem planting in the field, you get 1 plant to 10. This one plant to 10,000. That means this one is multiplication rate 1,000 times more than that. So you can actually install this thing around everywhere in this country and have enough planting material for Nigeria to plant and have enough, bring down the cost so that the industries can begin to patronize, because they say that the cassava from Nigeria is more expensive than the cassava from Thailand, because Thailand is operating at a lower unit cost when you take the big distance nominator and the smaller denominator is fixed, the nominator is bigger. So we want to make sure we increase the nominator, which is the harvest, so that the unit cost of the cassava per ton from Nigeria will be price competitive, even cheaper than the cassava derivatives from Thailand, from Vietnam, from Indonesia.
I have to interject here. Thank you. And you know, the point is raised. I don't know if Mr. Ayelesho said 250 or 150.
No, he said 75,000.
Yes, at the moment.
But the analysis we've done,
yes,
with we use Boston Consulting is one of the best distance. The analysis we've done, if we can produce and ship to China at a price competitive rate of between $250 to $270, $250 is way 4 times more than the 75. So yes, what it means is that because why they're not complaining, they have been able to enhance their yield per hectare. An average farmer that is getting 6 ton, 10 ton may not be smiling like them, because if an average farmer is getting 10 ton at 75,000 per ton, it's 750,000. Okay, they can barely make profit, but they're producing 30 tons. So 75,000 is 222,225,000.
Thank you.
Per hectare. So they will still have more than 1.2 million naira profit per hectare.
You know, the money you are calling is just sounding music, and you know.
But the money that drives it. If the farmers don't make money, they cannot farm.
We seem to understand the issues, you know, surrounding cassava, And like you rightly said, the president asked the right question. So if we know all of this, what is the problem? And you've given us, the problem. So I'm going to ask another question. What is the cocoa?
But before you ask the question, let's just inform our viewers that you can also contribute to this discussion
Precisely.
by sending us your SMS or chat through the numbers. The numbers is displayed on your screen, so you can send your questions, you can send your comments, and also participate in this conversation.
Precisely.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm going to, I want to ask, what is, as the Yorubas will say, what is the kokoro now? That is, what is the pathway now? Is it escalating the the method you have said? Because I've seen that method also somewhere in Buhari. A female farmer is using that method to to farm. So, what is the pathway to achieving this objective?
Well, like I said, I think it's just for us in the ministry, based on the work we are doing currently, we are looking at enhancing the innovation within the sector. And one of the things he has mentioned is part of that innovation. But because of the diversity of our country and the other challenges, because we are not operating in a vacuum. And so we have to recognize that no matter what you have as a good technology, it can be applicable somewhere, but it cannot be applicable everywhere at the same time. So all the diversity issues have to be brought on board. And so within that context, we believe if you are going to introduce innovation, which means you need to bring all parties to the table, then we also need to bring in investment. And the issue of bringing investment is to bring in clear policy. And I think part of what he has explained is trying to say that, look, there is a clear policy. But then we in the ministry are currently of the view, and we are working on that we have to bring all of it together and ensure that we properly institutionalize it within the ministry, such that at the end of the day, the element of flip-flop, because we are doing it now, what happens if tomorrow somebody says it's not the same? So we also are aware of that, and we don't want people, if you look at what happened in the past, I remember there was a lot of hype about the cassava, revolution. But at the end of the day, many farmers got into it.
We even had
and
cassava
at the end
bread.
of the yes, at the end of the day, people felt left away. Some of the things he has talked about, the fund he has talked about, the bakers, for example, were asked to do some investment because you need to do some retrofitting or even changes to some of the production system. And if you need to do that, then you need to ensure that it's sustainable. And I think the catch here is that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is very upbeat about Nigeria first. And I think if we take on the idea of Nigeria first, it means we should identify where our areas of capacity in-house are, and then try to provide government support and encouragement to most of these people who are doing this, because if you give guarantee in terms of the market, then people will have the urge to want to go into their installed capacity and see how much they can produce. So investment is one of it. Then the other aspect is that we also need to look at strategic partnership, bringing in people who ordinarily government can bring them together to work together as parties on solving some of the challenges within the value chain. So we believe the opportunities are just something we cannot ignore. And we need to do more as a government. And that's why I told you, we told the operators in our various agencies, we can no longer continue with the RTEP. It was expansion. Now we've expanded. And we are world number one, concurrently from almost 97 to date, consistently. But if you go into the market, you are not getting anything. And like he said, when farmers are able to make gains out of a particular operation, then they are encouraged to stay within it. So we need to make it commercially viable. We need to also bring in the youths, because the youths are the ones that have the energy. And so within this context also, this is where the idea of mechanization comes in. Because if you look at the cassava operations, land preparation, You cannot do a massive, system without that. Even the technology he's talking about, if you have to move into large, operations of the technology he's having, you also need to have mechanization. Human energy, horsepower cannot just do that. So we also need to look at that. And I think if you look at the various countries he's talking about, the benchmarking is that from their production system, land preparation, planting, all the operations of the farm in terms of, application of agrochemicals, fertilizer, and the like, all of it is mechanical. And I think this is the areas where, within the concept of the R-tide that we are developing now, we want to bring everybody together,
including the state executive, because
everybody.
if you're talking about
and,
the belt.
yes, and if you look at it, the entire Nigerian production is a belt.
Yes,
because
it's a cassava belt.
You'll be surprised that if you go to Borno State, for example, the Baga axis, the cassava produced there, because of the sun, it has edible. It has more advantage, because the sun plays a key role in the production system, at the same time water, and that's why he is saying everywhere where you can actually have the sun and you are able to apply water, most of the sunny areas are dry, so you can see the challenge. And that's why if you are able to bring in the innovation where you are able to take advantage of the sun while guaranteeing that cassava just requires some little water. So I think the advantages are there. And like I said, the other aspect is that you need to think smart. And thinking smart here is that right now we are doing 60 million metric tons. Okay? But what is our yield? Which is what the SSA was talking about. Our yield currently, at best, average is 11 tons per hectare. Meanwhile, we are having varieties that have been developed and released within the last 2-3 years that will give you 40 tons per hectare. So even if you take a best effort of 30 tons per hectare, that is almost like tripling, which means you can go to about almost 180 tons per hectare. And if you have 180 tons per hectare, for example, 180 million metric tons as what you are producing, then those who are going to have industrial application will have enough. And if you bring in investment that will be able to do standard pelleting for both animal feed and for export, then definitely you are bringing in a new pathway to the economic rebirth President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is seeking to have. And that's why we say the best diversification you can make for for our economy is the agricultural sector. This is just cassava.
Okay.
This is just cassava.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Honorable Minister. We just have to get to Lagos. We just want to get to Lagos now because we heard that it's been raining, cat and dogs since yesterday, and there's a heavy downpour in Lagos. And Joel Pukwola is there to give us an update of what exactly Lagos looks like now after the heavy downpour. Joel.
Thank you. Lagos has been at the mercy of the rain precisely since on Thursday. It has been raining heavily almost on daily basis, and it has been raining from morning till night. A lot of areas that are flood-prone areas have been heavily flooded. Areas like Agungi here in Lekki area of Lagos has been at the mercy of the rain. Agungi is a unique area. It is a flood-prone area. And before now, residents of Agungi have been living in fear, unlike in other areas where the rainy season is a blessing for them. For residents of Agungi, they always live in this fear of the unknown whenever it rains. And this is the situation. This is what the more than 10 hours of heavy downpour has left residents of Agungi to grapple with. Residents here are appealing to regulatory authorities, the emergency responders, the Lagos State government to come and intervene in terms of mitigating the impact of the incessant flooding. But unlike Agungi, in other areas in Lagos where the rain was equally heavy, the the water level seems to have improved, unlike what we have here in Agungi.
Thank you very much, Joel. We'll get back to you during our subsequent, news bulletin to give us update of the flood situation in Lagos. Thank you very much. Thank you. So we'll come back to the studio now. Dr. Uzoma, you wanted to chip in one or two things before we take, because some questions have come in from our viewers, which we would like to read, but in just 1 minute, you can chip in what you wanted to say.
Mr. President is interested in widespread nationwide diversification of the economy, and he has consistently asked this question: if cassava, can it only be grown in the south? No. Cassava can actually, the best belt with the availability of water, the best belt to grow cassava is in the north. I will give you an instance. In Australia, they have a farm where they put, because it's very sunny, it doesn't rain, they put 12,500 plants, and the harvesting average yield of one plant is around 13 kg. So they're getting more than 140 tons per hectare. So that can effectively be replicated, like in the Baga axis is talking about, in the Hadeji axis in Jigawa State, in Bedwe, in Nasarawa, in Kwale here, somebody had gotten a plant, just one plant, up to 25 kg, 15 kg. So if you take that, you can actually get more than 120 tons per hectare. And why cassava is of interest is that the yield, the max maize can give you is 10, but this can give you 40. And is also not as input intensive as others. And also the derivative spread from cassava is higher. So the Mr. President wants anything that would diversify opportunities, spreading opportunities across the board.
Okay.
It's not just for the farmers.
You are able to produce rice like
Cassava.
Okay.
Okay, we have questions that have come in. Yes,
Okay.
and this one is from Elisha Mureng, Jos East local government area in Plateau State. He said, "I'm very happy to hear this cassava farming discussion. My question is, how can a local farmer in the village have access to this hybrid of cassava?" This is from Jos. And the second question is from Musa Arome from Abuja. He said, this is to Honorable Minister. What is government doing with cooperative societies and extension work officers? Because cooperatives are vital components to large agribusiness and ease of giving credits to farmers. I think, do you have other
Yes,
questions?
I have some questions here. This one is from Ayo from Ondo State. It says, how can an average farmer in Ondo State get the high yield cassava seedling mentioned by your guest? Okay, now this one says, good morning, NTA. I am happy to listen to your voices on cassava driving Nigeria economy. How can we in the rural areas be involved in this? We farm cassava in our communities. At the end, we will not see anybody to buy. Please, we need connection. That's from Andrew. And then this is from Professor Omokai Adeleye, University of Benin, Benin City. It says, there is an urgent need to establish a massive national program to drive food production and export. The federal, states, and local government, private sector, community unions should be massively mobilized. That's from Professor Omokai Adeleye. Then this one says, this one is from Abubakar Garba. He says, good morning. I'm a cassava farmer and wish to discuss further with the two doctors on their discuss production and marketing techniques. He's asking, could you kindly give me, he's asking for your numbers and link me with them. Okay.
After the program, we'll be able to do that.
You should be able to do that.
we
Okay.
should be able to.
Probably you respond to some of these
I think
questions.
we thank the viewers for these questions. Because of what we need to do, there are two things here, and that is why the contribution by Dr. Okengwa and my brother, Kingsley, is looking at various options. The traditional method has been for us to do multiplication. That is not going to be put aside. But combined with this technique of massively producing from the technological innovation perspective, we believe the program we are going to drive from the ministry, will help to bring everybody together. And I think that's why, for the explanation the senior special assistant is given, we are now having more or less an umbrella coordination where every other party who has something to contribute within the value chain can be made to see that government is committed at the highest level. And so we believe we need to do massive multiplication of these, plantlets and, cuttings, so that they are available, because the technology they are talking about will lead to what they call plantlets. It is the plantlets that will be produced from those ones. But the cuttings, which they are also aware of, there is also a technique of actually massively producing it. And so the training and expansion of people who provide this is also part of the program that government is now going to start driving. Because like I said, we did root and tuber expansion program over a long time. And the various multiplication centers were abandoned. Now
So
we are now going back.
Access to the
They are going to have access because
to the hybrid.
To the hybrid,
yes.
Well, they need to make contact with the various research institutes. For example, Umudiki has a substation in Plateau State.
And in Abuja here.
And in Abuja here, they have a substation. So I will encourage them to go to the substation here. I think it's somewhere here in Nyanya area. While their substation is in Kuru. Okay, that is, yes, in Jos.
Near
Vom.
Okay.
They can make
Elisha,
contact
I'm
to
sure
there. So
you
they
are
can make contact there. And I'm sure the institute will be more than willing to share what they are doing. At any rate, the IITA is working very closely with the National Root Crop Research Institute that is based in Omodiki.
Yes.
IITA is the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture.
They also have in
Kubwa. And they also have a station in Kubwa. But what I'm saying is that our local research institute, which is the National Root Crop Research Institute, is doing some good work, and we need to also give them that support. And you see, now that this realization has come on board, we in the ministry, what we're trying to do now is to develop a massive program. And I think that is one of the points the professor was talking about. We need to go into programming. And when you develop a program, then the program will tell you all the parties that will be involved. You know where the production system is. You know all the inputs and everything that will be targeting that production system will now be made available. And thank God for the mechanization, drive of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which we have seen the, official flag off and launching of the 2000 and other implements.
Okay,
now,
thank you very
more
much.
are going to come.
Sorry, we need to interject now because of our time.
Yes, but let me just say one thing about the cooperatives.
You will say it. You will
Okay.
say it as your parting shot.
Okay.
So let's just go to our Zoom guest, Mr. Ayelesho. As we wind up this conversation, let's have your parting shot concerning this discussion this morning. What are you expecting from government, and how do you see cassava, production within 5 to 10, between now and maybe probably in 5 years' time? In 1 minute.
Thank you very much. I think government is also started doing some interventions, which is very good through the Nigeria Agricultural Development Fund, and also through the Nigeria Cassava Investment Accelerator, also through NADA, obviously by making provision for those machines and equipment which they have just acquired. This one will go a long way actually in helping the rural farmers, especially the aggregators, those who have formed cooperative for, to actually help them improve on their farm. On the question that they how to assess the yield for my guy in Latvia and also in Ondo, our farm is also making an arrangement where we have to go aggregation scheme where we give stems, varieties of stem. We have 4 of them that we have gotten from IT that were planted on our farm, which has given us, like the SSA said, about 40 tons per hectare. So we are also making provision to get these stems across to all the neighboring states around us here, including Ondo State. So my colleague who has that question can get into, we can go in touch with him to get these stems across to them. We'll also be asking the government to assist us in terms of road infrastructure in some of our farms, because through RAM, this will help us in a very great deal. And some of these equipment they have also acquired. Let's get few of them also trickle down to some of those who are in large scale and mechanized farming, like Agbewa. This will help us in a great deal.
All right.
Some of the
Thank you,
grants
Mr.
from the
Ayele.
CBN.
Actually, we have government representatives here, and they have heard from you. Dr. Okengo, let's get your parting shot.
Thank you.
Before we
It's important for me to state that we have an MOU with IITA at Biosources. We have established the semi-anthropophilic hydroponics in our center in Enugu. This is verifiable. We are aggregating about 300 farmers around the southeast zone. Okay, so we have both production centers. We actually have gari that was produced, which we shared, for free at the Cassava Day. And what we're saying with our farmers is that 5%, 10% of your production through our system has to be donated to government for free.
Thank you. Dr. Uzoma.
I want all of you,
In just 30
especially the
seconds.
guests that ask questions, that Mr. President is interested in anything that will alleviate, put smile on the faces of Nigerians, especially our smallholder farmers in the villages, and cassava is at the center of it. That is why, for the first time in the history of this nation, at least till this democracy, that the president is taking a presidential level approach to cassava transformation in this country.
Thank you.
And the seeds will be available through National Root Crop Research Institute, through IIT, and through other initiatives now that NADF, all sponsored and backed and supported by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Just a quick one. The cooperative, somebody was asking, we're actually having a cooperative reform and revamp under the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President. And I think I will urge the person who has to actually make contact with the Plateau State Cooperative Federation. He will get more insight because they are party to it.
Absolutely.
But overall, let me say this. Mr. President's commitment to our national food sovereignty is that let us have a situation where no one goes to bed hungry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister of State Agriculture, Food Security, Senator Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
Let me
you very
also
much. My
appreciate
pleasure to
Dr.
be here.
Kingsley Uzoma, Senior Special Assistant to the President and Agribusiness. We're glad to have you join us. Dr. Emeka Okengu, a bio,
Elder brother.
my elder brother, and of course, Managing Partner Operations of Biosources and Technologies. Thank you very much. And also, Sheyi Ayele Show, MD, CEO, Agbeyewa Farms Limited in Ado Ekiti. Thank you very much for joining us via Zoom. And thank you for all your SMS. And I hope you got the feedback from the guests here in the studio. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
A major currency unit is the Naira, while the minor unit is the Kobo. They are both in notes and coins. The Naira is more than just a medium of exchange. It bears the images of our heroes. So, stop abusing the Naira. It is a criminal offense to spray the Naira at events. Stop stepping on the Naira. It's not your enemy. Do not squeeze, ruffle, or write on the Naira. Handling the Naira with dirty or oily hands can deface the Naira. Love the Naira as you love yourself. Be a real Nigerian. Do not abuse the Naira.
The business environment, to be honest with you, has been extremely hard on most Nigerian women's businesses. And of course, harsh for a number of reasons. There is no way you would increase or move a subsidy and increase the price of fuel that it doesn't have the counter effect. It has been very challenging for so many women. I know that a lot of them have cried in one way or the other to us to find ways of intervening. But that is not to say that it is all doom and gloom. We will still have a few percentage of women that are thriving in this economy, but we hope that we'll be able to get a larger percentage. One of the things I've seen with even our local purchases now is that people are buying more made in Nigerian options of food, of clothing, and so on and so forth than the imported. So that again is helping some of our industries thrive. Surprisingly, the telecommunications is still doing well, and the reason is very simple. A lot of people are going for online options of things, in terms of training, communications, even remote working. And so you will see that people that provide services around those areas also thrive. But I think at the end of the day, it's about partnerships, collaboration, and influencing power from especially the private sector and even the public sector. But we really need the public sector to drive a number of things, especially policies, because the public sector has the national spread above even whatever we can do in our own small way. What has happened over the years is that even the government, for example, is being pulled from different angles by all these stakeholders. We need to harness ourselves to have strategic focus areas, and we should all be moving in the same direction, not using a competitive approach, but a collaborative approach. Secondly, in collaboration, we need to move with large clusters of decision makers. Instead of, the process of reaching out to individuals is painstakingly long and it takes time. And so we need to engage these stakeholders on a larger platform. I think it's very important to identify where you can get help in your own little way. And one of the things I've realized is that when you operate in silo, it is difficult for you to lift yourself out of the situation. Identify ways you can do what you are doing in a simpler way. And if what you are doing is no more profitable, why not find out what can you do in the meantime that will help you? You need to think outside the box and then connect. What you can do is also identify people and become a cluster to provide a service that ordinarily you cannot do alone.
Yeah, thanks for staying with us. We now commence our second discussion this morning, which is on energy policy and governance. And we have our guest who is joining us from our Lagos studio. That is in the person of Dr. Muda Yusuf. He's the Chief Executive Officer, Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise and former DG, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Dr. Muda Yusuf, good morning and welcome to the program. Lagos Chamber.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
Claire.
All right, Dr. Yusuf, thank you very much for joining us. Let's quickly get into, the conversation. And I know you know also that within the past few months, we've seen Dangote Refinery roll out initiatives from, reduction in the prices of petroleum products to rolling out of CNG trucks and investment of over 720 billion naira in CNG powered truck distribution. I'm just wondering what is happening, from your perspective and your position. What exactly is happening? Are we supposed to be jubilating?
Of course, these are some of the positive outcomes of the current reforms in the energy sector, particularly in the petroleum downstream sector. And this is also a demonstration of the kind of value that the private sector can bring to the economy if we create the right kind of environment. The deregulation of the downstream sector has created enormous incentives for private investment in the downstream sector. And that is part of the result of what we are seeing. The whole initiative by the Dangote Refinery is to ensure that we have better access to petroleum products, is to ensure that we have efficiency in the distribution. It's also to ensure that we have an inclusive framework. Because if you look at that sector, logistics is extremely very, very critical. And in an economy where you don't have a functioning rail system, your transportation system by road road transportation has to be reliable, it has to be safe, it has to be efficient, it has to be cost effective. So the beauty of what is happening with the Dangote refinery, and we hope that other players in the economy will also emulate this, is to adopt a model that will bring down the cost of logistics. Because cost of logistics is a major driver of inflation across all sectors, not just in the petroleum sector. So that is why it's a very commendable thing that we are seeing this idea of CNG trucks, which will bring down significantly the cost of logistics. And the another very important thing is that for most of the players in that ecosystem, I'm talking about petroleum marketing, and many of them are small scale, small SMEs. They are small business people. They don't have the capacity on their own to be able to buy these trucks. To buy a truck now, a tanker of maybe 30 or 35,000 liters capacity, you'll be talking about nothing less than 100 million. So how many of them can buy that for the purposes of lifting products and all of that? And this is a very vast country. So this model is extremely very, very beneficial. It's going to, ensure that the cost of logistics comes down, and hopefully this will also translate into lower costs. And this will also enable a lot more small businesses, to be effectively part of the distribution chain. So it's a very commendable thing. Then from the point of view of safety, some of the worst road accidents we have had in this country has been with all these petrol tankers. They have caused horrific, damages to lives and to property. And the reason is that most of these trucks are not particularly roadworthy. Most of their owners are struggling to keep them on the road. So there's also the issue of safety. With the kind of initiative that is coming from the Dangote refinery, we are going to be assured of better safety in terms of standards, apart from even the reduction in cost. So there's a whole lot of advantages in this approach, and my appeal is that those in the industry should work collaboratively so that we can see a replication of this model, to ensure a more efficient product distribution across the country.
A whole lot of advantages in this initiative. The Dangote's plan to bypass traditional fuel distribution, that is the distribution by the middlemen, and offer credit directly to retailers, is being seen as being very disruptive, especially to those who are already in the market. Do you believe that this level of vertical integration could help strengthen or threatens Nigeria's competitive market environment? Competitive.
I don't think so. First of all, let me say that this business model is not new. If you look at the cement industry, if you buy cement, maybe you are buying a truck, whether from all the key players, whether it is Boa, whether it's Dangote, whether it's Lafarge. They have facility to deliver it to you using their own logistics arrangements. They deliver cement to their dealers. I mean, we see all these trucks all over the country. So there's nothing new here. Even with those who are in the beverage industry, the soft drink producers, when you order, they have their own trucks through which they deliver to their dealers. The same thing with those in the brewery industry. The same thing with those who are in the flour milling industry, in sugar industry. These are things we see all over there. So there's nothing new about internalizing your logistics arrangement into your supply chain. It's to ensure efficiency even of the business itself. So in any business, of course, disruption is not new. What is important is for us to adjust to whatever kind of disruption that is happening in the system. The fact that you have something who is bringing a higher level of efficiency into a system is positive disruption. And from what I've heard, at least from the statement I read publicly from the Dangote refinery, they are ready to partner with all those who are players in that ecosystem. Whether they are marketers, whether they are dealers and all of that, there is opportunity for partnership. And in any way, or in any case, it's even better for them, for most of them. If you have an arrangement where the producer of the item has offered to deliver to you as a distributor, as a dealer, is that not value addition to the business? For me, I think this is a very good development. It's not anything new. It's something that has been happening around many of the industries up until now. Even in the petroleum distribution sector, most of the major marketers have their own trucks through which they deliver to their various dealers and sub-dealers across the country. So there is nothing new here. What is new here is that the level of efficiency is being elevated by the use of the CNG, by bringing in more vehicles and all of that to bring down the cost and to reach out to a lot more people. And there's also the element of price equalization, which is to the benefit of consumers. Because with this arrangement, it will be possible at least to ensure that we have price equalization across the country, so that the locations or the states or the citizens that are very far away from the sources of production will not suffer the disadvantage of being geographically far away. You know? So that is also a major advantage. And in any case, the best way to support the ordinary people or the consumers is to ensure that we have more competition. This is a question of more competition. This is a question of increasing efficiency to bring down the cost. So the narrative that is going to, cause disruption or do all of what, even if there's a disruption, it's a positive disruption.
All right, Dr. Yusuf, thank you. And just I think it was last night. The news broke on the internet.
He's still talking.
Okay.
Disruption that has taken place. So this disruption is also part of evolution generally in any economy. What is important is for all players to be able to tweak their business strategy to cope with evolving developments in the sector. What is happening for me is a very positive thing.
Again, that it is a sector that has been deregulated. Dr. Yusuf, thank you. But let's look at how maybe, companies or industrialists like Dangote can be supported in terms of policing and all that. Just last night, I think we read on, via online that, the price of PMS has also been reduced immediately from 840 to 820 per liter. And Dangote Refinery has passed all international and standards and practices that have also been confirmed by delegates from Harvard. We hear, unfortunately, Dangote said it is still importing I think 19.2 million barrels of WTI crude oil. Just because companies that are oil companies in Nigeria have refused to, sell directly to it. So how can, a Dangote who is helping to shift, bring a parallel shift in the downstream sector, how can it be helped in terms of policy?
See, the conversation should be broader than Dangote, because I don't want this conversation to be as if it's only about Dangote. This is about industrialization. This is about energy security. This is about self-reliance. This is about conservation of foreign exchange. This This is about job creation. So the fundamental principle is to develop our economy to be more energy secure, to be more self-reliant, and to import less of petroleum products. That is the general principle. It is Dangote now. Other players are also free to come on board, and I know that quite a number of refineries are also trying to come on board. And we have government's own refineries too, which have been moribund for over a decade. So the focus of policy should be about industrialization. It should be about minimizing importation. It should be about conserving foreign exchange. It should be about job creation. It should be about backward integration. That is what this whole philosophy is all about. It could be Dangote, it could be any other industry. And this principle should cut across the whole spectrum of products, not just only petroleum products. So the policy instruments should be activated to support any industrialization, anything that will make us a lot more self-sufficient. Whether it is in pharmaceutical, whether it is in agriculture, whether it is in petroleum products, whatever sector it is. So we must make sure that our policy levers are activated. Fiscal policy, monetary policy, trade policy. All our policy instruments must be calibrated in a way to support industrialization. That is what should also apply to the Dangote industry. If you have a way to scale up, provision of crude, and the government has been magnanimous, at least to a large extent, to allow for this naira for crude arrangements for the Dangote industry and which other whatever other domestic refineries we have, so to be able to buy crude and pay in naira, that is also a very good development. And the oil companies have been provided also to the extent of their capacity. Because don't forget, for many of these, our crude production, first, it's a joint venture. Second, there's a lot of forward sales that has been committed. To be able to raise funds to invest in all this turnaround maintenance and all of these issues, which are not particularly so transparent. So there's a lot of commitment already. I think that must be a factor that has been impeding, adequacy of supply. So I think to the extent that they have capacity, it's a good thing that we have domestic crude made available to Dangote industry, to any other refineries that is available in the country. That will help to scale up domestic production. At this point, as an oil-producing country, we should be exporting not just crude. We should be exporting refined products. That is the way it should be. Value addition. And the good news is that Dangote has even been doing that. The Dangote refinery has been exporting petroleum products, particularly Jet A1, diesel, and the rest of to Europe, to United States, to Saudi Arabia. That is good for our country. That is the kind of capacity that we should support, both for Dangote and for any other industry. Because this is about industrialization. So for me, these are the things we need to do. Our trade policy must be calibrated to support industrialization. That is already happening, because if you look at some, sectors like maybe the pharmaceuticals, there are some pharmaceutical products that you cannot easily import into the country because we have sufficient capacity. And there are also other industries where they enjoy fiscal policy protection. That should also happen to those who are in refineries. You cannot have a refinery that's as big as it, that we have self-sufficiency, and yet we still have all this importation of petroleum products. I mean, we should do something to encourage people who are investing in industries, in manufacturing. So there's a trade policy component to support industrialization. There's a monetary policy component to support industrialization in terms of financing, cost of fund, and all of that. Then there's also a tax policy component to support industrialization. These are policy instruments that we can use, deploy to support the development of an economy, particularly the real sector of the economy. Because the real sector of the economy is what can ensure sustainability, is what can ensure resilience of an economy, security across all sectors, economic security. So that is what should happen in terms of the policy framework to support both the refineries and other industries in the economy.
We've heard you. Thank you so much. The trade policy should be tailored to support industrialization of the economy. In your view, what should be the priority action points for the federal government, to further amplify the impact of such private investment, particularly in terms of infrastructure renewal, regulatory reform, or incentive mechanism, so that other players in the refining and logistics space can take advantage of it?
I will go back to what I said, because incentives is about policy. Not many people can take the kind of risk. Sorry that I'm going back to Dangote again. And it's because of the size of that investment. Not many investors can take the kind of risk that has been taken. $20 billion. No foreign investor will do that for an African country. So for both Dangote and other domestic industries, whether in refineries or in other manufacturing products, we have to be very deliberate in ensuring adequate protection. I'm talking about fiscal policy protection. If there is proven capacity to meet local demand, we should not be allowing importation. If we are allowing importation, we should have the tariff to protect the industries. I say this because manufacturing in Nigeria is a lot more challenging. So if you are exposing those who are manufacturing to importation, to be competing with imported products from China and the rest of them, that is not fair competition. Because here you are contending with a lot of structural issues, a lot of structural challenges that is escalating your cost of production. So that is the logic of ensuring adequate policy protection from a trade policy point of view. So that is very, very critical. Because I've heard people talk about competition and all of that. If people want to compete, let them come and set up industries here. Let them set up refineries here. We have 4 refineries owned by NNPC. Let them activate them to be able to compete. Other people too can invest. But when you go and import and say you want competition, that is not fair competition, with due respect. Because the playing field is not the same thing. So the trade policy approach is one very fundamental approach to support domestic production across all sectors. Then
we appreciate your contribution and the perspectives you have brought to this conversation, and we do hope that the necessary support will be given. Dr. Muda Yusuf, Chief Executive Officer, Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise and former DG, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you. And that's it on Good Morning Nigeria for today. It's been quite an interesting one. We thank you for watching. I am Claire Adelabu.
And I'm Ademola Adeye. Thanks for joining us. See you again tomorrow.